Ian and I will be talking for the next 20 minutes or so about digital audio and how you can take advantage of it through digital audio advertising. What I'll talk about at high level is the digital audio opportunity, digital audio during these times, during these unusual times. What is AudioGo? And then Ian's going to walk through a demo of the product so you actually get in there and see exactly how it works and how you can take advantage of digital audio. We'll go through some best practices, and then we'll turn it over to the folks at ActiveMeans to talk about how you can best measure your digital audio advertising. So just a quick level set, and I think most of you have actually done digital audio advertising, so I apologize if this is a bit, kind of pedantic. But just to level set on what is digital audio, it is audio that's delivered through digital channels, so streaming music, online radio, podcasts, smart speakers. And what when some people have done audio advertising, they think of like in the car or radio. I buy commute time, 4 to 6 p.m. And what is different about digital audio is it is targeted. You can buy audiences. You don't necessarily buy like a commute time, but you can buy women aged 18 to 35, and you can personalize your message to them, and it's very measurable down to the impression and the number of unique listens and listen through rates. So just to get clear on digital audio and the opportunity with digital audio is huge, and it really is becoming an integral part of our everyday lives. I mean, if you think about it, it is becoming the main way that we interact with media. We speak to Alexa, we speak to Siri, we speak to our phones, and by the time we've had lunch, the typical American has already listened to 2 hours of digital audio, whether it's through their streaming music, smart speakers, podcasts, in the car. Maybe not as much these days, but maybe. It's really everywhere. It's not only everywhere; it is effective. So this year, in 2020, is the first year that the number of people that are listening to digital audio is surpassing traditional radio. So there are 84 million Americans, according to eMarketer, that listen to digital audio every single month. So it is a huge market and a way to connect with people in a really kind of personal way. 4.5 hours a day is how much people are spending now listening to digital audio. And studies have shown that the increase when someone hears an ad, the increase in recall is 24% higher. Some numbers even higher than that versus display advertising. Now let's kind of think we're in a very, very unusual time right now. It's been what, 9 weeks, but who's counting, right? But it is also really an important part of the world we live in today. We are listening to news, to music. We're in our homes, and there was a study done by Nielsen, late March after all of this started, where 83% of consumers say they're listening to as much or more radio than before the pandemic, and 60% hold it in high regard and trust it to deliver timely information. 42% has said that it's helped them deal with the crisis, and even that is really around kind of finding trusted voices, whether it's through a podcast or through news, through audio. So we've seen ourselves, our technology at AdsWiz, the underlying company that powers AudioGo, we touch 200 million unique users across the globe every month. And we've seen an increase in digital audio users and unique users by 11% since the crisis. And we've seen an interesting peak in smart speaker listening in the mornings too, where people get up and I think the first thing they do is listen to smart speakers, and it's more than doubled in those morning hours where people were commuting before. So it's really today it's a very effective medium for reaching people, and kind of at a when you think about audio, it's a great way to connect with your audience. You're reaching people when their screens are off, whether they're jogging or cooking or just it's in the background or they're working. I mean, dancing, all kinds of things. It's very personal. It's very immersive. The attention is that it's not interrupted. You have their undivided attention, and you can target your audience and measure them, and it's very transparent. With the targeting that's enabled with audio, you can create personalized experience and connect with them in moments during the day, in the course of the day, in moments that matter. But I noticed that I think it was, 70% of you or so are in companies that are under 10 people. So before now, you might have said, oh, wow, yeah, audio, radio advertising sounds great, but if you call up some of the larger streaming services, you need, minimum, either large minimum spends, or you might not have an audio ad, or it, may be very difficult to, to kind of figure out how to add audio to your digital marketing mix. And now with AudioGo, we've really done our best to make it as easy, specifically for those of you in smaller companies. This is designed and targeted for the smaller businesses that want to add audio advertising to their digital audio mix. So what AudioGo is you can advertise on Pandora, iHeart, and other premium radio stations, including TuneIn and Entrevision and some Spanish language stations, with a $250 minimum spend. If you don't have an audio ad, that's not a problem. We can make one for you, and it's usually within 24 hours. We have targeting that enables you to reach your target audience. So you can target by age, by gender, by location, down to zip code. And then you can go up. You can target at zip code, city, county, DMA, MSA, or state. So you can, if you're if you're an agency, or if you're actually a small business and you want to target just in your local zip code, you can do that. If there's a reason to target by time of day, you can do that. We have Spanish and English language targeting, and also targeting by music genre that includes talk radio and podcasts. We've designed the product so that it's really easy to get going, and it's really easy to track what's happening. You can literally be up and running in 5 minutes. Ian will show you that all of the setup is on one kind of simple screen, and then once you're set up, you get a real-time dashboard that gives you your up-to-the-minute progress against your spend, how many people have heard your ad, how many times it's been listened to, and the percent of people that have listened to it through all 100% all the way through, which is the listen-through rate and the click-through rate on the accompanying display. And then we've recently been adding extra features. We've got a feature that allows you to, as you're figuring out your targeting, well, I'll use these 2 zip codes and women 18 to 34. You can see in real time if there's enough inventory available. So it really helps you in defining your precise target as you're developing your campaign. With a single click of the button, you can duplicate campaigns if you want to run the same campaign at multiple markets. You can save drafts, you can pause at any time, and a number of other things that Ian will also walk through. So we really, we've really designed this for the small business to make audio advertising accessible. We've aggregated multiple publishers, so there is sufficient inventory in a very, if you wanted to target in a very sort of smaller area, like a zip code targeting. And so on that, I think I will hand it over to Ian.
Great. Thanks, Kate, for kind of walking through the opportunity of digital audio and kind of how things are going during these strange times, and how digital audio can still be effective. And so I'd like to kind of quickly walk through, give you a quick overview of the platform itself, show you how to get started, how to get things set up, and as Kate mentioned, it's pretty straightforward and really takes a handful of minutes. So we'll just kind of jump right in here, and then after we'll discuss some best practices and hand it over to the ActiveDemand team. So to get started, you just visit audiogo.com, and we have a link to share with you after to get set up. All you do is click sign up in the top right here. This will lead you to this next form where you just simply fill in your information, kind of typical login. And then once you log into your campaign for the first time, this is what you'll see. So this was eventually going to be your dashboard, which will show all your activity for the campaigns that you have live. But of course, first we need to actually create our first audio campaign. So we'll just go ahead and click here. And as mentioned, it's kind of one simple form to fill out. All you do is go ahead and fill in the campaign name. Go ahead and select your budget. With AudioGo, you can decide how long you want campaigns to run. So they could run for a day, a week, a month, entirely up to you. For the sake of example, let's mock up a campaign that will run for about a week. And the reason I'm filling this in is because I wanted to touch on this tool that Kate had mentioned about kind of inventory forecasting and understanding how many impressions are available and how you can reach your audience. And so we have our tool called the Audience Guide. And so this allows us to show the kind of estimated number of ads that will be delivered for us based on our budget and campaign schedule, the estimated number of unique listeners that we'll reach, as well on the top right as kind of the total market opportunity, if you will. So right now we're looking at all of the United States, which is why we have 240 plus million impressions available. And so as you can see here, for as little spend of $500, we're going to have about 27,800 audio ads that will be delivered. So you can really get great reach with AudioGo. We do also allow for day parting, so you can choose the time of day and day of the week that your ads will run. You just simply drag and drop, and that will also update your audience guide. Here's where you go ahead and drop in your audio ad. So if you have a radio ad or if you have the means to produce audio ads, you can absolutely use your ad there. But we've actually decided to go ahead and partner with a creative team that can produce professional audio ads for you. So we realized that not everyone has a professional level audio ad lying around. So we're going to go ahead and be able to offer that here, and it's actually only for $10, which is extremely good value. Face value for something like this is around $200. So it really allows you to get access and get live on the platform. Similar to the campaign page, it's a simple form. All you do is fill out your script, and we request a 70-word maximum since the audio spots are 30 seconds on AudioGo. And of course, we'll also make sure to provide you with all the best practices that you need here. One thing to kind of really point out, and the Active Demand team will touch on this, is we really recommend having a very unique call to action within your ad, and that starts with the script. And so that could be in the form of a call tracking phone number to allow you to track your leads there. It could be a landing page or vanity URL specific to your audio campaigns. So again, we'll touch on best practices later, but definitely wanted to mention that here as it really all starts when you're creating your script. With AudioGo, we can actually create ads for you in English or Spanish. So if you have a need for that, we can absolutely create an ad in Spanish for you. And we could also target Spanish listeners, which I'll show you in a moment. Here you choose the voice type. So we have two different options for male and female. And here you have our background track options. So you can go ahead and select the background track, press this button here to get a preview of what the track will sound like, so you know going into it. And then lastly, any instructions you have for the voice actor. So if you want a certain tone during the ad, certain energy, maybe if there's specific pronunciation for certain words, go ahead and put all that in here, and we'll make sure that the voice actor gets this. And as Kate mentioned, we're able to turn these around in usually 24 hours, if not 2 business days at the maximum. And we'll go ahead and send that back to you. Once you have it, go ahead and take a listen. And if you like the ad and it makes sense, we can go ahead and drag and drop it in here. If not, let us know what's wrong with it, and we'll happily work with you to revise it for free. So definitely flexible on that, and certainly want to make sure you have all the tools you need to get the most success out of your audio advertising. So we definitely recommend using that service to create an ad. As I mentioned, not only can we create ads in Spanish, but we can also target ads in Spanish. Target listeners in Spanish. So you go ahead and just click that button here. And then lastly, of course, we do allow for companion display banners. So these are display ads that will run alongside your audio ad inside the streaming player. We have a few different recommended sizes. Again, we have all this information in our FAQs and in our blogs to make sure that you get the most out of your audio advertising. But go ahead and drag and drop your display images in here. And then you could also include, of course, a destination URL for folks to go ahead and tap or click onto that display ad and send them to a URL of your choosing. Again, this is where I'd recommend using that kind of unique landing page. And one other thing to note is you could also include UTM parameters here for Google tracking purposes. This piece here, billing reference, it's optional in case you're using a different credit card, as AudioGo does payment by credit card, and in case you want to switch those out. For your record keeping, you could go ahead and reference which card you used here, but it's an entirely optional field. Most importantly, of course, is how to reach your audience. So as Kate touched on with AudioGo, we have a few different options by location, gender, age group, and then content type. And so in terms of location, we have a few different options. And the way to use this tool is go ahead and just type in the area that you want to target. And then you'll see the relevant options. So as Kate mentioned, we have zip code targeting, city level targeting, county level targeting, DMA or MSA level, as well as state level. So as mentioned, you go ahead and type this here. As an example, we're looking at San Francisco. You can see the different MSAs, DMAs, counties, and cities available. And as Kate touched on as well, we actually also have zip code targeting available now, which is great. So all you do is go ahead and enter in the zip code that you'd like to target. It'll pop up. And then as you can see, the audience guide will start to change. Great thing here as well is you can do a combination of zip codes, counties, and cities. So really you can target anywhere that you'd like. All you do is go ahead and start to enter in the information here. So I did want to enter this to show you on the right how our audience guide will change. So as you can see here, now that we've decreased the amount of listeners that we're targeting, we've narrowed our targeting, now we're able to kind of reach the same user multiple times. And so that's certainly something that we recommend as a general best practice. We normally want the listener to hear the ad at least 3 or so different times, in this case closer to 9, 10, which is great. And so definitely recommend that because that'll really help with brand recall. But of course, you can use the tool in many different ways. If you just wanted to go for as much exposure and reach as many unique listeners as possible, go ahead and just broaden your targeting from there. Then the last thing to point out is our content type targeting. So this is where you can target genres. So we have kind of 19 core music genres here, as well as what we consider talk categories. So these are what some of our AudioGo users before might remember as spoken word. And so this is really anything that's non-musical content. It's talk shows, radio shows, as well as some podcasts are included in here, and it's all broken out by category. So once you have all your targeting set, you have your creatives in here. All you're going to go ahead and do is hit schedule campaign, and then your campaign will go live at the date that you set it to start. So from there, once your campaign's live, next I want to give you an idea of what your dashboard would look like after you run your first campaign. So here's an example of your dashboard. So again, as Kate had touched on, you can absolutely track how your campaign's pacing against the budget that you've set, how many days you have left on the campaign, as well as how many audio ads have been delivered, how many unique listeners we've reached, and the listen through and click through rates on the right here. This updates every 15 minutes or so essentially in real time, so you can always check on how your campaign's delivering. And then we also offer campaign level reporting. So go ahead and click into your campaign. Of course, you can still see the impressions and reach and conversion metrics at the top, but we did want to provide some more granularity in terms of the impression, listeners, and clicks. So at the bottom, you can see the daily trends here. You can see the impressions across different genres. Same goes for listeners, allowing you to see those distribution of impressions, which can really help you optimize your future campaigns. And then lastly, you can see the days that you received clicks to your display ad. So you can track, really everything that's going on in terms of delivery and activity. And then you might notice at the bottom here as well, you can absolutely duplicate campaigns, as Kate had mentioned. So if, let's say you have campaigns for a client across multiple different locations, you can easily duplicate the campaigns, switch out the location targeting, and have all your campaigns up in a matter of minutes. You can always export this report as well as actually edit your campaign. So let's say your campaign's running, you feel like the targeting isn't working or you want to switch out the creative, not a problem. Go ahead and click this pause button here, click back into the campaign, edit the campaign, make your updates, and then go ahead and restart your campaign. So you have a lot of flexibility with AudioGo. You can pause your campaigns at any time and make changes. And then the last thing I'd like to point out is you can absolutely export all of this information in your dashboard into a CSV. And that's something that you could connect with ActiveDemand, as well as allow you to provide that information back to clients as needed. So that's essentially the platform. I mean, it's very straightforward. And from there, I'd like to jump back into our presentation here. So now that you've seen the platform, it's super easy to get started. This link here, audiogo.com/ActiveDemand, will allow you to get set up quickly and easily. You can get your first campaign set up in about 5 or so minutes. And as a special offer today, all webinar attendees will get $100 off of their first campaign when they get started. So it's certainly worth taking advantage of that to test out the platform. And now, one thing that's great about audio, and some folks might know this, is it's known for generating awareness. So as Kate had mentioned, there's associated with digital audio is a 24% increase in brand recall compared to digital display. It really complements your overall digital strategy to allow you to reach those same users, maybe when they're not looking at a screen, maybe when they're on the jog or listening to their smart speakers, at kind of different meaningful moments during the day. And really to make sure that the audio advertising is as effective as possible, we do have some best practices that I kind of touched on. So first and foremost would be really clearly defining your target audience and make sure that your message matches that, right? Really make sure that it speaks clearly and directly to them and is meaningful for the target audience. And then as I touched on in the writing a script, definitely make sure to provide a clear and unique call to action. So that could be in the form of a call tracking number, a unique URL, or if you want to send them directly to your storefront, if you have a storefront, you can absolutely include the address there. But definitely, if possible, make it unique, which will really help with tracking. And again, ActiveDemand, we'll touch on that in a moment. Of course, you want to make sure to measure how your campaign's performing over time. So make sure just to log into your dashboard, see how it's performing, and you can optimize as you go. But one challenge, not only with audio, but really with digital advertising across the board is really measuring success, right? If someone listens to an audio ad, maybe then they later go to Google, type in AudioGo or type in your client's website, and then we're unable to it's more difficult to track that consumer journey. But with the right tools, you can absolutely track the effectiveness of not only digital advertising, but really of audio as well. So ActiveDemand provides these tools for you. So I'm actually going to go ahead and pass it over to them to show you how you can really get a good results in terms of direct response and really track the entire consumer journey from a listener after they've heard your audio ad. So from there, I'll pass it over to Adriel.
So yeah, like Ian was mentioning there, ActiveMeans marketing automation platform. We're focused on marketing agencies and marketing groups that really need fantastic attribution. They really need to show what marketing's working and how it works. I'm going to be going over some real meat and potatoes stuff, some really practical tips on how agencies and how in-house marketing groups can help with attribution. I am on my third cup of coffee today. I'm the only one who drinks coffee in my house, and I make a full pot every day. So if I go too fast, go ahead and ask questions on the right-hand side of GoToMeeting there, and we'll get to those questions kind of at the end. But maybe before I get too far in, one of the things I wanted to start off with is kind of a sad story, and that's really some heartbreaking client quotes that I've had that I think that all marketing people eventually have these conversations with clients and with in-house managers and that kind of thing, and it's really just a matter of time. You start hearing some of these things. We're just not seeing results. Oh, that one kills me. I hate having that conversation with clients. The leads you generated, we didn't use any of them. In fact, we don't even look at the leads that are coming in off of the website. Or I think we're getting most of our results. My cousin Vinny, he's got this bus bench thing, and I put some ads over there. I think that's where we're getting all of these leads from. And really, in some of these cases, it's because the marketing didn't hit the mark. In many of the cases, it's just because it wasn't tracked properly. You just can't make the connection between marketing and results, and that's where the real issue is coming about. Maybe the marketing is actually killing it for the customer. Maybe it's saving their business, and they just don't know. And if the thing with owning a business is that you're spending a lot of money, there's a lot of overhead, and there's always that little voice in the back of your head thinking, is this working? Am I getting value out of this? Should I be doing something else? Am I wasting my time? Am I getting beaten by my competitors because of what I'm doing here? So making that connection between marketing and results is super important when we're in marketing groups, when we're working inside a marketing agency. I've been on both sides of that, and the conversation is different but the same as well. That no manager wants to be spending money on marketing that's not getting results for them, and no client wants to do the same. So really, marketing attribution is really finding out what marketing is working. We need a tracking strategy that covers many entry points. Some stuff's very easy. I mean, if you have an e-commerce store, that's going to be very easy because you have a very defined endpoint. Someone buys online. Many businesses aren't like that. Many businesses need as much tracking as possible so that they can get a sense of what's working and what's not. And the less they track, the more that's a guess, the more that's a gamble, the more chance you have that you might be doing something great in marketing and look at it and say, I don't think it's working, and throw it out, and you're actually throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're throwing out a perfectly good marketing strategy and you just didn't know whether it would work or not. The other thing that I've noticed is that really great marketing strategists have a really good understanding of what works and how the relationship is between marketing and business results. And really crappy marketing strategists don't. They're very creative. They can put together some really interesting concepts, but they don't really know what works, and they're just kind of putting together stuff by the seat of their pants. So good strategy comes about when you have good awareness of results. And I think another axiom out there is what gets measured gets done. And if you're measuring and you're attributing what's happening with your marketing, you get a really much higher performance as a result. So the first thing I want to talk about is something that's kind of boring. It's tracking by phone, and tracking by phone seems very 90s, but a lot of businesses still get their results through phone calls. They perform marketing. They push out a phone number. The phone rings, so it must be working. And really getting that tracking in is super important. So by far, this is one of the again, meat and potatoes suggestions for a marketing campaign on audio is if you want them, if a phone call is the next step, use a tracking phone number, or use a tracked phone number in that campaign. These can be very easy to set up, and the whole idea is it's just a phone number that's used for the campaign. It's going to redirect to your standard sales line, or it's going to go to a voice menu of some kind, but it tracks all the calls in on that number as these are ones that come from the campaign. So as an example, if you wanted to do that with ActiveMeans, this is the interface here. We want to add a call tracking number. We could add one for any area we want to, really. I could go ahead and let's go add an offline one, and we could say add one local, and let's add one for Phoenix, Arizona, for example. And all we're going to do is search for, find one of these phone numbers, see which one's going to be catchy, which one's going to be easy for people to remember when they hear it on the radio. Or I could do a search by text, so I could find something that says get leads, or comes out to a word. I find that phone number, I select it, it's now mine for as long as I want it for, and I can redirect it to my standard sales line. So again, very easy to do this kind of stuff, and it's really good for again, getting those results and understanding what's working and what's not. Another thing that you might want to consider is a text-in campaign. The interesting thing here is that most of your customers are on mobile phones. They all have mobile, but they're listening to audio. Okay, so maybe they've got like a home or an Alexa or something like that in their room. They've just heard an ad, and now it's time to, how do we get that to their mobile phone? A text-in campaign is a very interesting, very quick way for us to get a customer to contact us and for us to get enough information to start speaking with them. So setting up a text-in campaign is another option that you may want to consider. If you need to send them something afterwards, if you need to send out a white paper or a data sheet or something like that, text-in campaigns are fantastic because you can get them to text a certain phone number, and then you can reply with a link to the data sheet or white paper or whatever the thing is that you need them to get. Sometimes some people will use coupons, for example. Not only that, but you can actually automate what happens afterwards. So we've actually set this up for a couple of different clients. It's seen really, really good results. I wasn't like I've heard a lot of this stuff on the radio. Text this to win, and I'm like, does that work? Does that not work? And I can tell you that from what I've seen with the agencies that have run these campaigns with their clients, it's worked very, very well. So I would definitely recommend that if the call to action matches. The next bit is website tracking, because like Ian was mentioning, sometimes you do a radio ad and then they pop onto the website. They might schmiggle around, look around at a couple of different places on the website, and tracking that is actually very important, because of the traffic that your website gets, most of it is not actually that important. There's a lot of people who are looky-loos. They're looking around the website. They're not actually doing anything substantive. So we need to track the people on the website that came from that ad, and we need to ensure that we know what they're doing. Now, phone tracking from a website is a little bit more complicated. We can't just do one phone number, because that will just track people who are calling from the website. And that's a more interesting thing is, how did they get to the website? What pages did they go to? Have they been to the website before, and connecting that? And that's done through a technology called dynamic number insertion, or DNI. Super common if you've been to like a high performance marketing website. Chances are you may have seen like a phone number switch on you, where it shows as one thing, then it immediately switches to another, and that's called DNI. And the reason why that's a thing is that, again, high performance marketing groups need to know, why is the phone ringing? What did we do to cause that, and how can we get it to happen more often, right? So in this, the phone number automatically changes on your website, and we're able to track, again, where that person came from, what they did on the website, and then connect that to a real person who called in. And that really helps understand what's working and what's not. Typically, there'll be like a selection of like 4 phone numbers that will be in a pool that will show to people on the website. And again, just like that single track phone number, they all redirect to your standard sales line, so your salespeople can take those incoming calls. Now, what do you get from all of this? Well, you get some really killer reporting on phone calls, rather than just asking the salesperson, hey, have the phones been busy? They've been kind of quiet. And instead of getting that, we can get some much more rich information. We can see phone calls that have come in. We can see what the number was, what the duration of the call, where they came from, what campaign was it on, and we can start to get a more full picture of where those phone calls are coming from and what's causing the phone to ring. And that's very powerful for marketing, because it gives marketing really crucial feedback on what's working and what's not. The next thing, again, meat and potatoes suggestions here, is web forms, and not just anonymous web forms. Most companies and most marketing groups have web forms that are on their website that are anonymous. They anonymously post a conversion up to Google Analytics, for example. But web forms that are a little bit more fancy than that. Let's get contact data into the system, whether that system be a CRM, whether it be just by email to sales. Let's track partial form submits. So if someone fills out some of the form and they don't go all the way, maybe we can send that to sales as well, right? Because that person just stopped filling out the form at some point. And then as well, we can take immediate action on these submits. So we can either perform some basic nurturing. A lot of the times with audio ads, for example, we're doing like a really basic offer just to get as many people as possible in, maybe like a sweepstakes, maybe a contest. Those people might not be ready for sales just yet, and it's really nice to automate the process of nurturing those leads afterwards, so that we don't have to have people manually working over all of these people who subscribe to a sweepstakes, for example. We can have an automated system automatically nurturing them and trying to bring them closer to becoming a lead for sales. If you have a customer, or if your business is in the business of appointments, for some examples for this would be like eye care, or plumbers, or even some B2B companies, like the first thing you need to do is set up an appointment with a customer, maybe a needs or a discovery meeting. And I would argue that rather than having just a contact us form on your website, running an appointment scheduler is way better. I can speak from personal experience that the lead quality off of someone who books an appointment is much higher than someone who fills out a form. So if you can, and if your business or your customer's business allows for it, appointment schedulers are a fantastic way of closing the loop on that conversion. And with ours, what we do is it really gives your clients and prospects a way to book directly with you, integrates with Google or Microsoft Office 365 calendars, automatically reminds prospects of meetings. Some customers and some prospects do not pay very much attention to the calendar, and they forget about upcoming meetings, and it happens. So automatically reminding them via email, via text message is a really great way to make sure that they actually attend the meeting that they booked. And this is commonly used by high-performance salespeople as well. You may see salespeople, especially these days, who might have a link in their signature that says, book a meeting with me. That's what that is one of these appointment schedulers. Like Ian was mentioning, the other option that you might want to look into is landing pages. If your website allows you to build these easily, fantastic. You can build those very quickly. If you want to track phone calls and text sends and a bunch of other things along with landing page, ActiveMeans can put that all in one campaign, so it makes it very easy to report on. And the landing page you're looking on the side there is just like a quick little demo one that we whipped up here. And it's very common on. I'm sure if you've listened to podcasts or digital audio recently, you've heard this kind of stuff where the advertiser goes through their spiel, and then at the end of it, they say, visit example.com/get10 for 10% off. And that is that's a very nice call to action, very easy to make these landing pages up. And because ActiveMeans a landing page system, we're able to quickly whip these up with a new campaign and track it to that campaign. So that's nice as well. The last thing I want to talk about is reporting, and I'm pretty passionate about reporting because this is the way you keep clients on, get them coming back for more, and this is the way you also prove your worth if you're an in-house marketer. Because otherwise, people just don't know if you're doing your job or not. Maybe they'll say, oh, the coronavirus, it's actually good for our business. It's nothing that marketing didn't react to this thing and do anything nice for us. It's just some random happenstance that happens. So we need to take that out and prove that our marketing is working. There's a couple of tips that I would have. One, make sure that you're using goals that are important for the business. If they're not important for the business and you succeed, you may not ever see any more business from that client, or you might not see that campaign run again, and it's because maybe the goal wasn't important. So try to get ones that are kind of irrefutable, ones that can be tied to business performance. If you're doing a one-off campaign, I find like a mid-run and an after completion report works really well. So a mid-run is because halfway through the campaign, the client's gonna ask anyways, or the manager's gonna ask anyways, how's the campaign going? Is that thing working? And really a mid-run campaign report is just good to confirm, yes, it's working, here's how it's doing, do we need to make any changes? Did we totally miss the mark? All of those questions should be answered in a mid-run report. An after completion report should tie a nice bow on it. It should be all of the data in there. Did we get any customers from it? How did it perform compared to other campaigns we've done, and that kind of thing. Now, if you're doing an ongoing campaign, if you found that those campaigns work really well, and they always work really well, just keep them going. Just keep an ongoing campaign running. But with that ongoing campaign, I'd really recommend a scheduled report that goes out, reporting on the performance of that campaign. Because again, there's that little question in the back of the manager or business owner's mind that's asking, is this working? Am I putting my money in the right place? And a scheduled email report is a really handy way of tying that up. And the stats that I would put in that report would be very minimal. I would say follow the KISS principle. The person reading the report should be able to answer, is it working? Am I getting value out of this campaign? And the way that we prove that is we show customer signals. What are the customers or prospects doing as a result of our campaign? Oh, they're texting into us. Cool. They're visiting the landing page. Cool. We're getting appointments booked. Oh, that's interesting. We're getting promotional calls. Oh, that's interesting as well. Having that all kind of tied up nice and neat is an excellent way of reporting, and it's irrefutable. The other thing that you may want to consider adding to this is all just a bunch of numbers, and some people are not numbers people. they kind of need to see the story. They might need to see like a little bit more information. One of the things that agencies that use ActiveDemand really like to do and get really good results with their customers is a lead story. They cherry pick one or two really good examples of leads that were generated in that time period. So if it's a monthly report, they'll pick one or two leads and they'll say, hey, you know, Bob from Acme, that $1 million deal that you guys closed this month, that was actually from our audio ad. And here's how it happened. The audio ad went out. Bob went to the website, browsed around a little bit, left, came back, and then he filled out the appointment form with our sales, and we converted him. Putting that information in there is so super democratizing for the client. The client can read that, or the manager can read that and understand and see what you're doing and how it has value. And that is so super important to A, keeping your job, B, keeping the client, and C, progressing in your career. If you know what works and you can prove it works, you can become a better marketer, become a better advertiser as a result. So I'm super passionate about it. I think that tying advertising to results is super important, and super important for just better marketing in general. Last thing I just wanted to mention here was that attribution is one thing that we can do with ActiveDemand. Because it's a marketing automation platform. It's got a lot more built into it that helps marketers perform repetitive tasks automatically, or build out large campaigns that are kind of built on recipes or templates very easily as well. So we've got a very full platform that's fantastic for any marketing agencies or any in-house marketing teams that are interested in high performance marketing.